Okay, once you get to this point, when you start to do the seaming, you're going to want to kind of take attention to, as I mentioned earlier, the angle of the tip. So the reason that's important is when you start going in these holes, if you've just got a straight cut tip, you're going to have a hell of a time. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be everywhere. Having this tip, I don't know if you can see this, it gives you control. So you can, if say in this instance, I need to lay down caulk on this piece, I gently squeeze and walk the caulking gun forward, letting the material squeeze evenly in it. When it comes time to do this piece, I slightly turn the caulking gun, angle a little bit differently, and come at it so that my trailing edge is at the end of that caulking gun. So you see, you can apply it semi-liberally, you don't need very much. If you watch now, I've re-angled the tip so that now that trailing edge is just being pulled gently along the bottom of this brick. Leave a little extra there, I'll show you why in a moment. So it doesn't need to be pretty at this stage, because what we're doing right now is we're just laying enough material down. We'll stop there and we'll work the rest of the way down here. Again, with it's a smaller crack, you don't need as much, so you can squeeze a little less and apply less material. The trick is to kind of just keep an eye on what's coming out of the gun and keep laying down enough material to work with. Again, I change my angle as I come down this edge. Just being careful to apply just enough material to grab onto the edge of that faux brick. I'll go a little bit faster just so you can kind of see some of the technique involved. Again, moving the tip so that your trailing edge is along the line that you're working. Whoops. And I'll show you why it doesn't really need to be super clean later. In just a moment, you'll see. I just want to get to the bottom of this panel. The brick material specifically does end up having a little bit more gaps in between it. That's why it does require a little bit more time. As you can see, I'm being a little messy, kind of going a little quicker than I was in the beginning of the video, just for illustrative purposes. But again, it doesn't need to be pretty. You're just laying enough material to come back over later. Okay, and now I'm at the bottom of this zigzag tongue and groove there. So what I do then is take the tension out of your gun. You're going to always have a little bit of back pressure in there, so this may continue to bleed out. So what you want to do is make sure you set it down on something like a rag or a napkin, just because it will fall out. Now the great thing too is when you come back to this, you can kind of grab what did come out, and then you can find a screw head as you work and just sort of blend that in. And that way you're not coming back to it later. And so when it comes, you've got your material laid down, you see it's pretty crude, this zigzag line, but already it looks much better than this here. So you can see all these gaps. Just by kind of crudely filling it in, we already kind of see these start to disappear. What I found works is keeping your hands liberally wet when it comes to blending. So you see this bead of caulk. What I use on these is my thumb, and I kind of pull that material up. I work my finger across, just like that, and you'll see that line kind of became part of the grout. And I re-wet my fingers. I'm going to pull to the 1.5 now, just so it's a little wide angle. And then I just push. Again, thumb is super wet. A re-dip. I come here, and you want to make sure you're using a finger that you're comfortable with. You're not pressing, you're just sort of sliding and guiding the material down that natural grout line. So again, we'll just wet the thumb, go across, go up. You don't need to wet it every time, as long as there's some moisture on your hands. You'll see that it does want to sort of soften up there and just smooth out. And I'll show you a technique in a moment once I get to the bottom of this. And once you do this enough times, it becomes sort of second nature. You're just sort of feeling the edge of the brick. See how there's some buildup there? You can just smooth that right out with your finger. Wipe that off. Come back this way. Down on the inside. Again, we're just kind of guiding the material into some of those cracks. Try to leave enough material to sort of hide some of those peaks and valleys. But the neat thing is this texture is so busy that when you step back and you're all done and you look at it, a lot of these little things sort of disappear in just some of the broken up texture along the material. So once you've smoothed that out, you'll take, this is a microfiber cloth. I found that terry cloths are a little bit better, but we didn't have one on this job, so we're making do with a microfiber. So you can use both. The reason a terry cloth works better is that, as you can see, as I come over this material and I start to what you want to do is make sure this is pretty moist. You'll tap on it and you'll notice that this became a texture. Now, on microfiber, sometimes there's a bit of a pattern. So when you tap down, twist about 45 degrees and do a couple more taps. And if you just look at what you've done, you've basically mimicked that texture with just a little bit of moisture and just coming over it. Patting, I twist 45 degrees. You don't have to do this, but it helps break up that uniformity in that texture. And you'll notice these are, sort of standing out, but as you go over them, they do disappear. And you'll see I've accidentally left a little bit of texture on the brick. You can just wipe that away, or you can use your towel. But yeah, just working your way back up the material where you laid down that silicone caulking. It's a texture matched caulking, so it does require a little bit of work to get it to actually stand up, as you can see. But as I go over it, you'll notice that these smooth lines are disappearing. Then I'll take another piece. I'll just kind of quickly go over it. And as you can see, now the difference from what once was this very jagged line looked like this just a moment ago, with just a little bit of caulking material and a little bit of patience and a little bit of time and technique. Hopefully this helps you.